Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to take a panorama where each photo is a long exposure. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs, my name is Serge Ramelli. I am a French photographer living in the beautiful city of Paris, France, and the very sunny city of Los Angeles. And I make 1 to 2 tutorials per week, normally, but right now I'm shooting movies, so I'm doing a little less tutorials. But a couple of weeks ago, I had a photo that got viral on the web on 500px. It hit the homepage, and I got lots of comments about it. This is the photo. It's an 18 photos where each photo is a long exposure. Okay, it's the first time I tried this technique, and I wanted to share this with you guys. So let me show you how I took this photo. Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. So I want to talk to you about this photo and give you the little story on how I shot this photo and the recipe for it. And this is a photo that I did, and I posted on 500px on the 7th of October, and it went right on the homepage, and I had like over 12,000 views in 24 hours. This is what I do when I take a photo which I think is really nice. I put it up on 500px, and some really go nowhere and some go really high up. This one I think was one of the most views I've had in 24 hours, and a lot of people seems to enjoy it. So I'm going to explain you how I took it, because this is a technology that I have never tried before, because it's a bit long and complex. But here it comes. First, to be able to do this photo, you're going to need two things. You're going to need first Autopano 4.0 now from Colors. You can go to my website, click on my gear, you come to this page, and here is Autopano 4, because it's such a complex panel that you're going to need something very powerful, more than just the Lightroom CC, to be able to stitch it properly. Okay? And so you just click here, and if you buy it from me by clicking here, I get a little percentage, and it helps me to do the free stuff I'm giving you. And then the other thing is you need is MacFun. You need MacFun Creative Plus. At least you need Tonality Pro. MacFun is also coming up with a new creative kit in 2016, coming out on the 15th of October. So you can pre-order it. It's an amazing deal, $89 instead of $455. But same thing here. Please click on this link here from my website, because you're going to need these two plugins to be able to do that. First, let me show you a little bit how I shot this photo. So the problem with the Walt Disney Concert Hall, if you've ever been in Los Angeles, and that's a problem I have all over the world with monuments, is that they're beautiful, but there is like streets in front of it and things like this. So I had to get very close to it, and I did a similar episode back a couple of years ago, because I shot a color version of it. This is the black and white I'm going to do using Tonality Pro, and it's a whole different ball game. I shot this using an ND filter. Now the ND filter that I use is the ND filter. I think I have it on my gear page here. It's it's this one, the Photo XO Pro 77. You can buy it here, or there's another one which is not here, which is the BW. The BW is really good also. Basically, it's an ND 1000. I shot this with a Sony A7R, and it's the one I'm using is actually a 67mm. I need to add it here, 67mm. But if you go to Amazon, let me show you this, because a lot of people ask me what filter to use. So you just go BW ND 1000, and you choose whatever the size you have. Mine was 67 because it's for the 2470 from Sony. So this is the one that I bought. I really like this one. I'm going to add it on my gear list, hopefully by the time you see this video. So that's the one I used. And what I was going for is, let me show you the EXIF data. You see, it's every photo is almost 120 seconds of exposure. Why? Because that day we had an amazing sky. It's very rare in Los Angeles that you have clouds, but this day was very cloudy. It was like probably, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I guess. Yeah, on my camera. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And there was like, it was like stormy and blah, amazing. So the thing is, on the Sony A7R, and that's one thing that Canon has that I love and that Sony does not have, is that when you take a long exposure with a Sony, you don't know how many seconds you are taking the photo. You don't have like a little time code thing that says, oh, here is how many seconds it's gone. So you have to use your iPhone or other ways to do it. So I used the iPhone to sort of bowl ahead. I wanted at least 2 minutes of exposure, but to reach 2 minutes, what I did is I put the ISO at 50, so lowest ISO possible, and then I closed to F22. The problem is when you do that, and believe me, I cleaned up my sensor just before doing the shot, but I still got some dust left back, because the smallest dots on the lens or the smallest dots on your sensor, because you're at F22, is going to appear on your photo. So that's a bit of a problem. But anyway, so this photo is 117 seconds. Now there's two advantages to having this ND filter. One, you get the crazy sky looking, because now it's all stretchy of 2 minutes of exposure. And look, there was a lot of people there. There was like a Chinese bus arrived with like 60 Chinese people walking in front, and they almost all disappeared. And you will see at the end, we hardly can see them. So that's one thing which is great. And so what I did, I started taking like a whole bunch of, it took me like an hour because every photo was 2 minutes. And I'm going to give you a small version of this raw file so you can play around with them. So that's the first photo, then I went up, that's the second photo, then I went up again. So 1, 2, 3, and then I went a little bit to the right, and then I went down, and then I went down again. And every photo, look, it's 128, 117, it's around that. Then I moved a bit to the right, okay, and then I went up, and I went up, and then I moved back at the bottom, but a bit more on the right, and I took the middle, and I went up, and then I took again on the right, and I went up, and up again. So it's basically, in all, we have, oh, yeah, and then I went again on the right, and this is what, 111 seconds, and I went up, and I went up. But this one looks like they're retouched a little bit, or they have a different white balance. I don't know. Let me see if they're retouched a little bit. No, they're not. It's funny they have, oh, it's because they didn't update. Okay, so you're talking a total of 18 photos. 18 photos to catch everything. Everything is shot at 24. Now, the reason why I could have taken this with 1 or 2 photos at 16 millimeter, but then because of the way the Walt Disney Concert Hall is built, it would have distorted completely. And it's a very unique architecture, which I really love. Some people hate it. I love it. And I wanted to, have it the best. So by shooting at 24 millimeter, you respect the architecture. And because it's such a complex panorama, I'm going to use Autopano, which is perfect for this kind of panorama. But first, I'm going to do a bit of retouching. First, I'm going to take out the colors. So I don't have to worry about white balance or anything. I'm just taking out the colors completely. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up the shadows a little bit, bring down the highlights. You've never seen me do that before. I'm going to do my black point, making sure I have a good contrast, and my white point. I want a good contrast to start with. The rest I'll be doing I'm going to add a bit of clarity. I usually don't add clarity to this, but on this one I'm going to add a bit of clarity. I usually do, most of the retouching in Tonality Pro when I do black and white, and you'll see why. Okay, now there is a little spot here, so I'm going to take the spot healing brush tool, and I'm going to click here, and I'm going to hope, because I'm going to synchronize this on all the photos, that it's not going to mess up my photos at the end. Okay. Oh, noise reduction, very important before going to Autopano, noise reduction. But I was at 50 ISO, so there's not much noise. So you know what? I'm just going to sharpen the photo. I'm going to sharpen the photo a little bit. Okay, sharpening like about 80, noise reduction about 20, and then I'm going to do my masking. So hold on the Alt key. I want to make sure I don't do any sharpening on the sky. Anything which is black is not going to get sharpened. If you don't know what I'm doing, you can check out some of my other tutorials, but that's the basic thing. Then I'm going to select all the photos. I'm going to click synchronize, and I'm going to synchronize this retouching on all the photos. So they're all going to be black and white, and all the noise have been taken care of. And now, did I shoot this with a Sony A7R or A7S? No, it's Sony A7S. I shot this with a Sony A7S, so the files are small. It's only 12 million pixels each files. And I mean, right there, I really love the look, okay? So now that I synchronize this, I'm just going to right-click, export as, and this time I'm going to go at TIFF 16-bit, because I want the best possible quality, and I'm going to export these 18 photos over to Autopano. That's going to take a minute, so I'm going to put this on pause, but it actually goes pretty fast. Autopano is the best out there to make this type of complex panorama. There's nothing like that. I know PT GUI is not bad. I've tried to use it, but I find Autopano easier to use and just super powerful. All right, so here we are in Autopano, and I just realized that I actually shot, you see, all the photos were shot at 37 millimeter, and all the exposure goes between 92 and 165. Okay, so I'm just going to click here. So once you are in Autopano, you just click on Detect, and you let the Autopano magic do its work. And it's going to go very fast. I mean, you're talking 18 raw files, and Autopano is one of the fastest stitching software I know out there. And it's really good because when you want to do like architecture type of photography like this one, architecture photography, it's, it takes this type of tools. Okay, I'm going to go into the edit, and I'm going to reposition my window here. Okay, so it's there. So it kind of looks weird because I shot a lot of the sky. The sky is there's a lot of sky, and so I shot a bit more sky. But let's look at the projection settings here. By default, it did cylindrical. I'm going to check Marketer, see how that goes. It's actually not bad. Or planar. Planar is in this case a bit crazy. I'm going to go for Mercator. I think Mercator works great for this type of architecture. The problem with Mercator is you cannot put this straight, but what you can do is you can use this tool, which I really love, the move tool, and you can just move around and position your panel how you want it, like that. If you really want to get everything straight, you have to use a projection, which is planar. So it's going to look weird because planar only works with let me show you. See how it looks? It looks really weird, but then you can still zoom in. Okay, and don't worry about the sky that's being crazy right now. And I'm going to test both things. Yeah, no, I don't like the projection how it does. I'm going to go for Mercator. Mercator, I think, does a better job. I'm going to go back to Mercator. I'm going to zoom back out. Yeah, Mercator, I'm going to go for this one. And let's see, let's use the move tool again to move it around. You see, and you can correct like some of this distortion just by moving it with your hand, which I think is really cool. You're like really looking at the projection. Okay, that's great. I love that. And I'm going to crop it. So I'm going to crop it here and maybe something like this and something like that. Yeah, and I want to get as much sky as possible. Yes, but that's enough actually. That's enough. I'm going to press enter. So I cropped it. Okay, and now I'm going to render it. So I'm going to click here on rendering. And basically there is an option that I love in Autopano. You can just put %A, and what that's going to do is that it's going to reimport it in the same file that it took it from. So it's here. So I'm going to click render. So you see at the end it's still an 11,000, even though I shot it with Sony 7S, it's an 11,000 wide, panorama, which is really cool. And we have some job to do probably, and then we're going to jump into Tonality Pro to do some more retouching. But let me get back to you when it's back in Lightroom. Once the rendering is done, if you want to reimport into Lightroom, I'll show you a little trick. You go on your photos, you go to folder in library, because I put this option of %A in Autopano in the file name. So I know this is where I shot it. I'm going to click here. That's the original folder where the panel was. And I'm going to click on synchronize because this is where Autopano has put the folder. Now there is a lot of photos there because I've done this twice before, and so they're all going to be here. But all I'm looking for is the merge panel, which should be at the end. I think it's going to be this one or this one. So I'm going to uncheck all, and I just want to import these two because one is a TIFF, one is a JPEG. Actually, I made a mistake. I exported it as a JPEG in front of you, but I should have used in the Autopano option. I should have used the JPEG one. Okay, well, that's fine. So that's the one I just did. Yeah, that's the one I just did. So that's how it looks straight off Autopano. Now we have to do some more job, a little bit in Lightroom and a little bit in Tonality Pro, where I have a little issue here. So I'm going to recrop the photo because I could use the content I were in Photoshop, but I think I'm just going to get rid of that. It's going to be faster. Okay, and the only thing I want to do, which I think is better in Lightroom than in Tonality Pro, is to do the gradient. I want to do some kind of gradient on the sky here, probably to make it darker here, and maybe add some clarity or not. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to add a bit of clarity and darker. I'm going to make two. I'm going to make one here and another one, which I'm going to do on top, and I'm going to go even lower. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I always like to do that in Lightroom first, because I think the way Lightroom does gradient is better than Tonality Pro and MacFun. But don't tell him that. But the rest is amazing in Tonality Pro. Okay, so that's my base. Okay, I'm going to right click. I'm going to go edit and edit in Tonality Pro from MacFun. And it's really, this is the software I have used to do all my book in Paris and all my book of New York. For black and white conversion, I think it's really the best because it's just there's so many options, and it has layers. That's what I really like about it, is that it has layers. So and I just love it to bring back some details and and things like this. So it's gonna load the photo. Let me put on pause until it's loaded, because it's a big file. Okay, there we are. So here you have like basic settings, but what I love about MacFun is that it's got presets. Okay, and the first thing that I like to do is if you click here on the different presets, they have like a whole bunch of presets, basics. On the basics preset, they have one that I really like. For example, is the smooth, or if you go to let me go to, for example, to portrait, they have the foggy portrait or glamour portrait. Now, one thing you have to understand using Tonality Pro is when you go for a preset, you're going to use just part of it. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to take the one from HDR, and I'm going to take the HDR balance one, which is the first one. So my whole photo is super HDR now, okay? I don't like that at all. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a brush, okay? I'm going to make sure the softness of my brush is 100%, and that the opacity of my brush is like 30%. So, and when I'm going to do my first stroke, the whole photo is going to go back to normal. And while I'm brushing, I'm just brushing a little bit of this sort of HDR-y thing. And I'm just doing that a little bit here. So let me show you, let me see if I can show you. That's the before and that's the after. You see, and if you think it's too much, you can just lower the layer. Okay, one more. I'm going to go back. I'm going to take another one. I'm going to take the portrait, for example. Their foggy glory portraits, for example, foggy. And I like what it does on some of the sky, but same thing with a little bit of a touch. So I'm even going to lower the opacity. I think I'm going to go like at 21%. I'm just going to brush a little bit of that glamour feeling in some of the sky to make an even stronger contrast between detailed and not detailed. Okay, let me show you before and after. Yeah, on this one. Okay, something like that. I mean, I really like this, the HDR balance one. So usually I always do one layer for the details, one layer for the glow effect, and then I'm gonna create a new layer where I'm gonna do some last final retouching. I love their adaptive exposure. Sometimes it does some really nice things, so I'm gonna do some adaptive exposure, maybe some contrast, a little bit of contrast. I like the smart contrast also. It's a bit different. It gives a different type of look. Highlights. Okay, I'm just playing around with the sliders, see what's working, what's not working. Shadows, maybe open up a bit of shadows. The whites. I mean, the same thing than Lightroom at this stage. But one thing they do better than Lightroom, for example, which I really like, is their vignette effect. I'm gonna put a little vignette effect over the photo. I really want drama. I mean, it was a dramatic moment. You know, it was really a dramatic moment. Okay, and let me see if you want to see the before and after. Can click here, before and after. It's not a huge deal, but you know, it just takes that extra thing that it's gonna make it pop. Look at all the details that came out here. You know, we have more contrasts. I love the vignetting effect. You know, it's just small things, but I really like it. Okay, and I'm gonna click apply, and this is really what I'm using for this type of things. So it's gonna re-import it into Lightroom, and I'm gonna do some final touches in Photoshop because I want to erase this man. This man. What happens is when you do a 2 minutes exposure and somebody stands in front of your lens for 1 minute and 40 seconds, that's probably what he did before he moved, you will see like a ghost of him. And that's what I'm seeing. So I want to erase some of the ghost, some of the dust in the sky. And I like to do that in Photoshop because that's more appropriate software to do that because I want to use the stem tool. Okay, so it's back into Lightroom from MacFun Tonality Pro, and now I'm going to do one final retouch. Right-click, edit in Adobe Photoshop CC 2015. Voila, because I just want to do some cleanup, but that's basically it. That's basically, okay, I accept the software agreement, no problem. You know, Photoshop, they want you to agree with things all the time, and we agree to them all the time. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to, you know, duplicate the background layer, and I'm just going to clean up a little bit the photo, especially this guy here. I'm going to take the stamp tool, and let's see if I can just, you know, clean it up. It's kind of a boring thing to do, but, you know, it's an important thing to do. I just want to get his, and it just takes time. It just, I just use some of, I mean, he's not very visible, which is cool. So I can just, with the stem tool, I can just erase some of his body, and all of a sudden he just becomes a, voila. Oh, I did something really weird here. On the original photo, I spent more time, but I don't want to waste your time with stupid stem tool things. Maybe here, do something like this. Voila. Well, I kind of messed up. I did a better job the first time, but you get the idea. Here, maybe erase a little bit of that. And I think there was some spots in the sky. I can do it in Lightroom, but I love to use the spot hitting brush tool for spots. It just goes super fast, and it's really clean. And that's the problem when you do this sort of long exposure. You really get, I mean, this. Sometimes I just like my sensor is fully clean, and it's still not good. Anyways, you get the idea. I'm going to give you a smaller version of all these raw files so you can play around with them. And voila, I don't want to bother you with, cleaning anyway. So I cleaned up the photo. That's the end result. And that went like, homepage of 500px. It's really cool. So if you have a monument you really like, go when there's a lot of clouds, put in an ND filter, and instead of shooting it wide angle, try to do this technique where you're going to take a lot of photos. It's going to take you a lot of time, but then at the end you get photos like this, you become a huge star international, and everybody loves you, which is really nice. Or not. Depends. Anyways, I hope you learned something, guys, and I'll see you in another episode. Mesdames et messieurs, au revoir.
Bonjour, mesdames et messieurs. I'm very happy to announce that I have a new course coming out on interior design. This is a completely different course than I did a couple of years ago, where I'm going to show you 3 different techniques. The first technique I'm going to show you is how to do panoramic HDR in interior design to get really, situations where you have a lot of light outside, like a sunset, and light inside, and you want to get both exposure properly. That's what these videos are for. The second technique is we're going to meet up with Alex, which is a Los Angeles real estate photographer, and he's going to show you an amazing technique where he does basically dodging with flashes. Very cheap, $50 flash, but it really can take your interior design photography to the next level if you want to get that, beautiful commercial look that magazines love a lot. And he's very successful here in Los Angeles on real estate, and he does very high-end, nice villas, and you'll see, it's an amazing technique. And the third part of this tutorial is how to do virtual reality. It's a great technique to be able to explore a place and see it in 360 and 180. I will show you everything, what software to use, how to do it from start to the end. So this is my latest course on interior design. Check it out. I think if you like interior design photography, it's going to help you to take it to the next level.